If you're over 60, there may be a question that quietly follows you more often than you admit. Have my best years already passed? Maybe you don't say it out loud. Maybe you smile when people ask how you're doing. Maybe you keep moving through your days the way you always have. But deep down, there are moments when you wonder whether the most meaningful chapters of your life are already behind you. You look back at younger years and remember the energy, the opportunities, the dreams that once seemed endless. You remember the people who were still here, the plans you were building, the future that felt so wide open. And now, sometimes it feels different. The mirror reflects a different face. The body moves a little slower. The phone rings less often. The world seems to rush forward while you wonder where your place fits within it. Perhaps you've started believing that your greatest contributions have already been made, that your most important moments are memories instead of possibilities, that the future holds less purpose than the past. But today, God wants to remind you of a truth many people forget. Your value has never been measured by your age. Your purpose has never depended on your youth. And the story God is writing in your life did not end when you turned 60. In fact, some of the most meaningful chapters may still be waiting to unfold, because God's plan is not divided into useful years and forgotten years. Every season matters. Every chapter carries meaning, and every stage of life contains purpose. Tonight, before you allow fear, regret, or uncertainty to define your future, listen carefully, because what God sees when He looks at your life is very different from what the world sees. And that truth could change everything. God sees the thoughts you rarely share with anyone, the thoughts that arrive during quiet evenings, the thoughts that surface when the house feels a little too silent, the thoughts that appear when you look back over the years and wonder where the time went. You remember seasons when life felt busy and full. There were responsibilities to handle, people who needed you, goals to pursue, problems to solve, days that seemed to move so fast you barely had time to catch your breath. But now, some things have changed. Children have grown, careers have ended or slowed down. Friends have moved away, some loved ones are no longer here, and there are moments when the silence feels heavier than you expected. Perhaps you've wondered if you still matter as much as you once did. Perhaps you've questioned whether your role in the world is becoming smaller. You see younger people building careers, raising families, and making plans for the future. And sometimes a quiet voice whispers that your most important work is already finished. That voice can be painful because deep inside, you still want your life to mean something. You still want to know that your presence matters. You still want to believe there is a reason God has given you another day. And the truth is, there are moments when fear begins to creep in. Fear of growing older, fear of becoming forgotten, fear of being overlooked, fear that the opportunities ahead are fewer than the opportunities behind. God understands those fears. He sees every concern hidden beneath the surface. He sees the nights when you worry about your health, the moments when you think about the future, the times when you miss people who once filled your life with laughter and conversation. He sees the tears that never leave your eyes because they remain inside your heart. And He wants you to know something tonight. Your life is not becoming less valuable. Your life is becoming deeper. The world often celebrates speed, youth, and achievement, but God sees something far more precious. He sees wisdom. He sees perseverance. He sees lessons learned through decades of living. He sees strength that was forged through challenges many people never witnessed. You may feel invisible at times, but you are not invisible to Him. You may feel overlooked by people, but you are never overlooked by God. Every experience you've lived through matters. Every lesson you've learned matters. Every act of kindness, every sacrifice, every prayer, every moment of faith matters. Nothing has been wasted. Nothing has been forgotten. And even if you cannot fully see it yet, God is still working through your life in ways that are meaningful, powerful, and important, because your story is not defined by what has ended. It is defined by the purpose that still remains, and that purpose is greater than you realize. Right now, wherever you are, God is closer than you think, closer than the worries that keep you awake at night, closer than the memories that sometimes make your heart ache, closer than the fears about growing older, or the uncertainty about what lies ahead. His presence has never depended on your age. It has never depended on your strength, your accomplishments, or your ability to keep up with the world around you. In fact, some of the sweetest moments of God's presence are often found in seasons when life becomes quieter, when there are fewer distractions, fewer deadlines, fewer demands competing for your attention. Many people spend their younger years rushing through life so quickly that they barely notice God walking beside them. But now, in this season, God is inviting you into something deeper, not a smaller purpose, a deeper one, not a lesser calling, a more meaningful one. You may not always feel His presence. There may be days when loneliness seems louder than faith, days when the future feels uncertain, days when questions remain unanswered. Yet even on those days, God has not moved away from you. He has been beside you through every chapter. He was there when you were young and full of dreams. He was there during seasons of struggle and sacrifice. He was there during victories and heartbreaks. And He is still here now. The years have changed many things, but they have not changed His love for you. They have not changed His commitment to you. They have not changed His plans for your life. God does not look at your age and see limitation. He looks at your life and sees value. He sees wisdom that can encourage others. He sees experiences that can guide others. He sees a heart that still has the ability to love, inspire, pray, comfort, and make a difference. And perhaps that's what you need to remember today. You are not walking into an empty future. You are walking into a future that God already occupies. He is already there, already preparing the path, already arranging moments you cannot see, already working in ways you may not yet understand. So take a deep breath. Release the pressure to have everything figured out. You do not need to know every step ahead. You only need to know that God is still holding your hand. And the God who carried you through every previous season will faithfully carry you through this one as well. You are not alone. You have never been alone, and you never will be, because the presence of God does not grow weaker with age. If anything, it becomes one of life's greatest treasures, a steady reminder that while many things change, His love remains constant, His faithfulness remains constant, and His purpose for your life remains constant as well. One of the greatest battles people face after 60 is not physical, it is emotional. It is the quiet battle against the belief that life is gradually becoming smaller, the battle against feeling left behind, the battle against believing that your most meaningful contributions belong to the past. This battle rarely announces itself loudly. Instead, it arrives through small thoughts that seem harmless at first. You've already done your part. You're too old for new opportunities. Nobody really needs you anymore. Your best years are over. The danger is not simply hearing those thoughts. The danger is believing them, because when a person begins to believe those lies, they slowly stop expecting good things from the future. They stop dreaming. They stop hoping. They stop looking for new possibilities. And little by little, life begins to feel smaller, not because God made it smaller, but because fear convinced them to stop looking ahead. Perhaps you've experienced moments like that. Moments when you wondered whether there was still something meaningful waiting for you. Moments when you questioned whether God still had assignments for your life. Moments when it felt easier to look backward than forward. God understands that struggle. He knows that disappointment can create doubt. He knows that loss can create fear. He knows that change can feel uncomfortable. But He also knows something you may not fully see yet. Your age is not a barrier to His purpose. The world often celebrates what is young, fast, and new. But God frequently works through what is mature, steady, and wise. What many people call aging, God often calls preparation. What many people see as limitation, God often sees as experience. What many people consider the closing of one chapter, God sees as the beginning of another. The invisible battle is not really about age. It is about perspective. Will you view this season through fear, or will you view it through faith? Fear says your opportunities are decreasing. Faith says God is still creating opportunities. Fear says your usefulness is fading. Faith says your wisdom is becoming more valuable. Fear says your story is winding down. Faith says God is still writing new chapters. And here's what many people miss. Some of the greatest impact a person ever has occurs later in life, not because they have more energy, but because they have more understanding, more compassion, more patience, more wisdom, more perspective. The very things the world overlooks are often the things God uses most powerfully. So when fear whispers that your best days are behind you, remember this: fear does not know your future. Fear cannot see God's plan. Fear cannot determine what God will do next. Only God knows the purpose He still intends to fulfill through your life. And that purpose is not canceled because you've grown older. It is not weakened because the years have passed. It is not diminished because life looks different than it once did. The battle you're facing today is not between youth and age. It is between fear and faith, between regret and purpose, between looking backward and trusting God with what still lies ahead. And tonight, God is gently inviting you to choose faith, not because every question has been answered, but because He is still leading you forward. And wherever God is leading, purpose is waiting. There comes a moment when you stop measuring your life by what is behind you and begin seeing it through the eyes of what is still possible. That moment changes everything. For years, you may have looked at your age as a reminder of time past, but what if God sees it differently? What if the years are not evidence of what you've lost, but evidence of everything you've gained? Think about all the lessons you've learned, the challenges you've survived, the heartbreaks you've overcome, the wisdom you've gathered through decades of living. None of those things happened by accident. Every season shaped you. Every struggle taught you something. Every victory and every disappointment helped create the person you are today. And God has not spent all those years preparing you for nothing. That's why this season is not about looking backward with regret. It's about looking forward with expectation, because purpose does not retire. Love does not retire. Wisdom does not retire. Faith does not retire. The ability to encourage someone, pray for someone, guide someone, or inspire someone does not retire. In many ways, some of the most important opportunities of your life may not involve building something new. They may involve sharing what God has already built within you. Your experiences carry value. Your story carries value. Your perspective carries value. There are people who need the wisdom you have gained, people who need the hope you've learned to hold on to, people who need to hear how God carried you through difficult seasons. And perhaps that is why God has brought you to this moment, not to convince you that life is ending, but to remind you that purpose is continuing. The world may focus on age. God focuses on impact. The world counts years. God counts faithfulness. The world sees limitations. God sees possibilities. And here's the beautiful truth. You do not need to become someone else to fulfill God's purpose in this season. You do not need to be younger. You do not need to start over. You do not need to compete with anyone. You simply need to embrace who God has created you to be right now. Because the person you are today carries something powerful. A lifetime of experiences. A lifetime of lessons. A lifetime of evidence that God has been faithful, and that faithfulness is still guiding your future. So let today be a turning point. Let it be the day you stop saying, "My best years are behind me," and start saying, "God still has purpose for my life." Let it be the day you stop focusing on what has ended and start paying attention to what God is beginning, because the truth is simple. You are not standing at the end of your usefulness. You are standing in the middle of a season that still carries meaning, a season that still carries purpose, a season that still carries opportunities to make a difference. And when you begin to see your life that way, the future no longer feels smaller. It begins to feel full of possibility once again. One of the most important truths God wants you to remember today is this: you are not defined by your age. You are not defined by a number. You are not defined by what you can no longer do. You are defined by who God says you are, and that truth becomes especially important in this season of life, because the world has a way of attaching value to productivity, appearance, and youth. It often celebrates what is new, while overlooking what is seasoned. It praises speed while forgetting the value of wisdom. But God sees things differently. When He looks at you, He does not see someone whose purpose is fading. He sees someone whose life carries depth, someone whose experiences have created strength, someone whose journey has produced wisdom that cannot be learned any other way. Perhaps there have been moments when you felt invisible, moments when it seemed as though people no longer listened the way they once did, moments when you wondered whether your voice still mattered. But God wants to remind you that your value has never depended on other people's attention. Your worth was established long before anyone recognized it, and it remains unchanged today. You are still loved, still chosen, still important, still sane, still valuable, still capable of making a difference. The years may have changed your circumstances, but they have not changed God's view of you. He still sees purpose in your life. He still sees opportunities ahead. He still sees gifts within you that can bless others. And perhaps that is why He is asking you to let go of an old label. The label that says, "I'm too old." The label that says, "My time has passed." Label that says, "Someone else can do it better." Those labels do not come from God, because God has never called you forgotten. He has never called you irrelevant. He has never called you finished. Instead, He calls you His own. And that identity is stronger than any fear about the future, stronger than any regret from the past, stronger than any limitation you may feel today. Think about everything God has brought you through: the obstacles, the disappointments, the unexpected turns, the seasons when you weren't sure how things would work out, yet here you are, still standing, still believing, still growing, still learning, still loved by the same God who guided you through every chapter before this one. That is not weakness. That is evidence of His faithfulness. And it is evidence that your story still matters. So stop speaking about yourself as though your greatest value belongs to yesterday. Stop treating your future as though it contains nothing worth anticipating. God is not finished writing your story. There are still people to encourage, still prayers to pray, still kindness to give, still wisdom to share, still moments to experience, still blessings to receive. You are not a person whose purpose has expired. You are a person whose life continues to carry meaning in God's plan. And the more you embrace that truth, the more clearly you will see this season for what it truly is: not a season of decline, but a season of significance, a season where God continues to use your life in ways that matter more than you realize. Now imagine what could happen if you stopped looking at the future through the lens of fear. What if, instead of asking, "What have I lost?" you began asking, "What is God still preparing?" That single shift can change everything, because hope has a way of opening our eyes to possibilities we could not see before. The truth is, God is not finished working in your life, not even close. There are still moments waiting to surprise you, still blessings waiting to arrive, still relationships waiting to deepen, still opportunities waiting to appear, still prayers waiting to be answered in ways you never expected. The future may not look exactly like the plans you had years ago, but that does not mean it cannot be beautiful. In fact, some of life's richest blessings arrive in seasons we never anticipated. A meaningful friendship, a renewed sense of purpose, a chance to encourage someone who desperately needs hope, a deeper relationship with God, a peace that only comes from years of learning to trust Him. These are treasures that cannot be measured by age. They are treasures of the soul, and they often grow stronger with time. God knows the dreams that have changed. He knows the losses you've experienced. He knows the chapters that did not unfold the way you expected. Yet He also knows the chapters that have not been written yet, and those chapters still matter. You may not know exactly what tomorrow holds. None of us do. But you can know this: God is already there, already preparing the path, already arranging details, already opening doors of purpose, connection, growth, and peace. The years ahead are not empty space. They are part of His plan, part of the story He continues to write through your life. And while the world often talks about getting older as though it is something to fear, God sees something different. He sees a life filled with experiences that can bless others. He sees wisdom that can guide others. He sees faith that can inspire others. He sees a person who still has something meaningful to contribute. So do not let fear convince you that your future is shrinking. With God, purpose never shrinks. It simply takes new forms. The mission may look different. The opportunities may look different. But the meaning remains. The value remains. The purpose remains. And perhaps the most beautiful truth of all is this: you do not have to spend your remaining years wondering whether you matter. You already do. You matter to God. You matter to the people whose lives you've touched, and you matter to the future He is still preparing for you. So lift your eyes beyond yesterday. Lift your eyes beyond regret. Lift your eyes beyond fear. There is still goodness ahead, still purpose ahead, still joy ahead, still moments worth living, because every stage of life has meaning in God's plan, and the chapter you are living right now is no exception. As you end this moment today, remember this simple truth: your life is not measured by how many years have passed. It is measured by the God who has walked with you through every one of them. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are not living beyond your purpose. God still sees you. He still loves you. And He still has meaning woven into the days ahead. May your heart be filled with peace instead of worry. May hope replace every fear that says your best years are behind you. May you find joy in today's blessings and confidence in tomorrow's possibility. And may you remember that every season of life carries value in God's hand. Rest in that truth tonight. The years behind you matter. The years ahead matter. And the God who has guided your journey this far will continue to guide every step still to come. You are loved. You are needed. You are blessed. And your story is still unfolding.